Welcome to part 1 of Competency 8. In this competency, the teacher understands measurement as a process. This competency is part of Domain 3, which is 21% of your test. In this video, we will work with properties of circles and polygons. Okay, before we get started, please note the properties of circles, meaning that we have the equation for the circumference and the equation for the area of a circle. For number 1, what is the circumference of a circle with radius equaling 3 1/4? Well, for this, all we need to do is pop in the calculator. Okay, so we have 2 times and our radius. Okay, I'm going to type it in exactly the way we see it. So that's second and then fraction, and we have 3 arrow over 1 arrow down 4. Now, we do not need to type in multiplication again because this calculator gives us a nice feature. We just push pi, okay, and that gives us our 2, our pi. So enter. Now, also, we have the feature where it gives us our answer in terms of pi. Well, right now we don't need that. We need decimals because we see our circumference options are all in approximate decimals. So just push your toggle button. And looks like we have a rounding issue. And option B is the best. Now for option C, be careful. Don't select option A. Don't select option A because that's easy to do that with your eyeballs. However, please remember that part of competency 8 is accuracy. So embedded within these questions, you may have this occur. So if you're not careful or you round incorrectly according to the instructions, then you will have an incorrect answer. Okay? All right, let's go to number 2. All right? You have 30 yards of fencing to enclose a rectangular area that is adjacent to a barn. You will use the barn wall as one side, but will need to enclose the other sides with fencing. The area should be 100 square yards. Find the width and length of the fenced-in area respectfully. Okay? And we need to unpack a lot here. Okay? So first, we need to look at our end result. Okay? I mean, not end result, but the process on the way. They're saying you need to find the area and it must be square yards. So whatever we do, well, let me label it and I'll use that. We have a width and a width and a length, okay? So that means that we know area has to be 100 equals length times the width. So if that has to equal 100, go over here to your ABCD options, and automatically I see an option that does not work. 15 times 5 will not equal 100. And also, let's look at these words. Respectfully. That means in order. So that means the first item has to be the width and the second item has to be the length. That will help us. Now, let's continue and let's go back to the first sentence. The length of the fencing we have is 30 yards. That's all we've purchased, okay? Or that's what we have laying around. Who knows? Okay? So that means that's our perimeter. So we need to say that our perimeter must equal 30 yards. So I'm going to put 30 is equal to what? Well, I have two widths, so that's 2W plus the one length. Okay, now there is a couple ways we could tackle this, but this is how I'm going to look at it. first, I'm going to come over here. Let me change this coloring here. I am going to put this, so I can do a little substitution because we have a system of equations, but we have adding and then we have multiplying. So I will have to use substitution. I can't use other methods, okay? So I am going to put our area in terms of the length. So what do we have? We have L. Actually, I apologize. I'm going to use a perimeter. Sorry. Let's use a perimeter. Okay. That'll work best. I mean, you could do it either way. Okay. And that's why I have done it twice, several times in different ways. Okay. So here we go. This is probably the most efficient. But while you're testing, remember, whatever method you use your calculator to help you out. Okay. So I'm going to take this perimeter and I'm going to say L equals 30 minus 2W. Okay. Now that gives me something to substitute back into my area here. If I could keep my pen steady here, I'm going to substitute that right back here. Okay. Now let's look and see what happens here. I have 100 equals, and in parentheses, I have the 30 minus the 2W, but times the W. Now I have something I can put in my calculator and come up with options. Remember, for W, we only have this in terms of W. And that means I can use these first items to get what I need. Okay, let me show you how this works. All right, and notice, I'm going straight to my calculator right now. I am not going to follow through. Okay, and I'll show you this trick. Okay, so go to your table, clear it out. Now, put everything in your calculator that I have here on the right side, wherever you have this expression, however you have it written down, okay? So I have parentheses and I have 30 minus, now W has to equal X because that's what my calculator will take, okay? That's going to happen a lot if you haven't already figured this out. Okay, so now we have what I have written down. Okay, so what's the trick? The trick is you need to take this when you're looking in your calculator and see when whatever the value W is, which is our X, is going to equal 100. So let's push enter. And see how I have ask highlighted? I'm going to go down. Okay, you could go to auto or you can go to ask. I will use ask here. Okay, let me show you. Enter, enter. Okay, we have prior values. Just delete and arrow down and get rid of them. You can only put 3 in, and when you get down to the last one, you're about to see it's going to type over for you. Okay, all right, so let's put 10. Does that equal 100? Yes, so that is a valid width. So I have W can equal 10. Okay. All right. So the next one, I'm just going to put 15 in so you see it. Okay. So 15, that equals 0. That is not valid. So we cannot use that. Our next one is 20. So push 20. That's actually not valid for this situation as a width. It is valid as a length. Okay, but not as a width. Now, out of suspicion, see how I have 5? Well, I've already marked 5 out with the B. Well, let's look at C, okay? So I'm going to type in 5. 5 and enter. And it's actually valid, but it's valid for a width, but it's not valid as a length, okay? So I have a width that can also be 5. Well, let's look at our options. I'll get rid of this, okay? Now, we know 20 is not valid. We know 15 and 5 together is not valid. So the only thing that we actually have left in this situation is 10 times 10, okay? Now, how do you test this 5? Well, 5 times 20 is valid if it were a width, okay? What do? We would put it back in our perimeter, okay? So here, let me back out of all this. Second mode to back out. So I am going to see if my what my length actually needs to be. So let's take 5 and put it right here, okay? All right. So I have 30 minus 2 in parentheses. Our 5 is a width. Press enter, and it's 20. So we know we can have a length that equals 20, and these two go together. And then we also know that we can have a length that equals 10, which results in our A. And you see how I did that? I did not follow through like we are taught. If you had followed through like you were taught, you would have also wasted. I'm sorry, but on a test, you're wasting time. I mean, I know you already know how to do this. If you understand your topic, why would you waste time? Just pop straight to your calculator, look at what the calculator gets you, write it down, look at your options, and be done. And move to the next question. I only say this because I want you to save time in your test. I want you to be successful. Save the other calculation habits that we have that are proper. Yes, it's proper learning. Save that for teaching your students. Wait till the end of the year to show them a trick like this, even at the university level. Wait, show them the trick after they've learned the proper topic, okay? In this case, I show you this not because I want you to ever use it in the classroom. I want you to actually have time to focus on more complex questions, okay? All right, let's move on to number 3. All right, number 3. If the area of a triangle is 15 centimeters squared with a base of 9 centimeters, find the height of the triangle. Okay, now we know that the area of any triangle is base times height divided by 2, and that will be given in the formula sheet while you take your test, okay? All right, so we're just going to pop that in the calculator. Okay, I'm not even going to bother to write it down because, well, actually, I will write it down because this is what you can do. You can say that 15 is your area, and then you have 9 is your base times, I don't know, x height, divide by 2. Now, if we put, again, using that little trick, put your right-hand side in the calculator and then look for the value in the y column, which is the other side. Okay, let me show you again what we do. So push table. I already have it popped into the calculator for us. Let's push enter, and I'm going to leave it like that and use ask, okay? I'll push ask and ask, okay? And let's delete out what's in there, all right? And go back. So let's try A, B, C. Just go down the line and see what happens. Now, you do need to know the equivalent form of A, and that is 3 with 3.6 repeating. So 3.6 repeating. We'll push it several times, push enter, and that gives the value. The calculator knows what to do, but that's not 15, so A is out. So now let's try B, 5.3, and that is not 15. So let's try the next one, and that is 3.3 repeating. So 3.333333333. Okay, enter. There we go. That equals 15. Now we can say clear. Uh-oh. Let me go back. It's not clear. Lesson learned. It's delete. Okay, I'll just delete the first one. Okay. Now that is 7.5. Push enter. And we have verified that C is the correct answer. All right, let's go to the next one. And here looks like we're going to work with a trapezoid. And I provided the image example and everything for you again, but remember, you will have this on a formula sheet. Okay, well, because it's a popular item used at the middle school level, okay? All right, I can tell you how many of these I help students with to prepare for the STAR test, okay? All right, let's look at that by doing the same thing, but we need to know the formula. So, I mean, I could write it out for you, but just bear with me. Let's clear all the way. You can keep clearing. And I'm going to keep my fractional setup. What should my fractional setup be? Well, let me show you. You should have parentheses, and I have one of the heights, which is 12, and I need 12 plus x this time. Close my parenthesis. Oh, no, that's the height. What's my other base? Sorry about that. It'd help if I would read. It actually needed to be 9. 9 plus my x. Close my parentheses. My height is 12. And if I had mixed those two up, that would have been really, a tragic result. Well, actually, I probably would have looked at my ABCD options and really came up with something completely incorrect. Okay, now we have a formula. And we know when we're looking, we need to look for 372 as this total area over on the left-hand side. Okay, that being said, let's go through the same process, okay? So push enter, and let's use ask again and use our ABCD options. Okay, remember we're gonna have to delete these things out. So delete, arrow down, delete, down, delete. And I like to go back up just for organization. Okay. All right. And let me clear out my list for you. That way you can see fresh what I'm doing now. Okay. Remember, you can always rewind the video and watch this again. Okay. So let's try 51. Well, that's not 372. So it's out. Okay. Now let's try 52. Nope. That won't work. 53. Ooh, we have a winner. But go ahead and try 54, okay? But I'm going to go up and type it over one that I know doesn't work, okay? 54, it isn't going to work. It's too large, okay? And that verifies option 4. And I also need you to notice with this method, you don't have to write as much down. And remember that saves you time because writing things down and putting it into the calculator, that takes more time. And you have 100 questions on your test, and you're going to limit yourself if you write things down. Trust me, I know. I did do that to myself on my high school cert. I was better about it on the middle school, so please don't make the same mistake that I did. Luckily, I passed. Okay. All right, let's move on. Number 5. An ice rink resurfacing machine or a Zamboni is used to smooth the ice in a rectangular ice rink that is 200 feet by 84 feet. If the Zamboni can smooth an area of about 300 square yards in a minute, how many minutes will it take the Zamboni to smooth the total area of the rink? Okay, well, what we have here is a little situation where we can have a proportion, but we need to put a little conversion inside of uh, our proportion. Okay, so what do we have? We have the square feet in 1 minute. Well, this is going to imply that we need to do this. We know we have for 1 minute. Well, if we have 30 square yards, you need to ask yourself, how many square feet is that? Okay. Well, we actually need to multiply 300 times the 3 squared because each foot each yard is 3 square yard, that is 3 feet by 3 feet. And 3 times 3 is actually 9. In my original notes, instead of 3 squared, I wrote 9. But this is good too. Okay, so that is going to equal the 200, the area of 200 by 84 over I don't know how many minutes that will take. Now, if we follow through on our proportional setup, which is what we teach starting in 7th grade, okay, what we don't do in 7th grade is we do not put this conversion with it. We sidebar that in our notes for the students, and then we would do that. But we're not students. We're adults trying to pass a test to the best of our ability. And you may be tired, who knows? And if you have a question like this, you're gonna be crud. Okay, what do I do now? Okay, well, keep this in mind that this is a good setup, but remember to always look, is everything in the same measurement? Obviously, we had to fix that. Okay, so what does this give us? This gives us the 300 times our 3 squared. Remember, we're using that cross multiplying. Oh, and FYI, please don't call that butterfly. I have my reasons. You'll find out when you get to middle school. Don't use that term again. It just tell me. I'm just saying. I'm telling you. Probably best not to do that in public. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. So we're going to call this equals. All right. So that's times 1. So 20 times 84. Uh-oh. You know what I forgot? I forgot my X. I was yakking. Here, probably best not to talk and write at the same time. Well, I have to, right? Okay, let's put that in parentheses. We have an X, but we're going to divide that anyway. 3x squared. Divide everything, no, yeah, by the 300 times the 3x squared. Okay, what have I really got going on here? All of this is now equal to 1. So it's gone. And, here, while I'm writing X's, let me write that better. Yeah, I had a, yeah, there, you can see that a little bit better. So X is going to equal what? So we will enter this in our calculator and have a quicker answer. Okay, yes, I did some calculations, but you have to admit that's a little better than going through the whole spill. All right, step by step, each one of them, calculating each one of them one at a time. If you can avoid doing that, do it. Okay. All right. So let's say a fraction, and I have 200 times the 84. Yes, I entered it correctly. Now what I have? What do I have? I have the 300 times, and I'm just going to say 3 squared to show you that it works. Okay. All right. That's exactly what I have written down. Press enter. Okay. Well, that's not given me the form that we need here. But let's try 2 things. The first thing I would try, because I see some decimals, is I would push the toggle button. And I see 6.2 repeating. And guess what? We have that. B is the correct option. It's the only 2 repeating. Okay? It's not exactly 6. And 6 2/3 is 6.66666, as we saw on a prior problem. So that's not it. And we know that 2 repeating is definitely not the same. It's just cutting it off at 2. Okay, that is not equivalent, which is also, may I remind you, that kind of accuracy is part of competency 8. So it's highly likely that you will see these types of accuracy questions embedded within the questions. This is something that you have to recognize, okay? All right, so let's look at number 6. Find the circumference of a round flying disc that has an area of 16 pi squared or 16 pi square inches. Okay, not, well, squared inches. Better English, square inches. Okay? All right. Well, you're like, well, I know what circumference is. 2r pi. This implies that I need the radius. Well, you have the radius, okay? If you don't see that, please investigate this. Make sure you understand because the area is pi r squared. Well, what is 16? 16 is 4 squared. 4 times 4 is 16. Therefore, what do I have? R is 4. All right, well, let's pop that in the calculator. Okay. All right, so, but in all honesty, we shouldn't even do that. We need to leave it in terms of pi. So that is just 2 times 4 times pi. And obviously that's 8. So there really isn't any need to pop that into the calculator. Now, word of warning, generally the numbers are a lot larger. So the best practice would be to simply, I mean, you could have a lot larger number. I've seen a lot. I mean, I've seen them use, uh, the equivalent like 13 times 13, 14 times 4, those kind of things. So what do we need to do? We need to say second and our radical and simply put in your 16 so you get your R, okay? It's easy to do. But in this case, we could probably just see it on our own, okay? All right, let's go to number 7. That was strange. Okay. All right. It says if the radius of the circle shown it to the right is 6 inches. Okay, the radius is 6 inches. What is the area of the square, including the circle? So we know that radius is halfway. Well, if this is 6, then the rest of it has to be 12. So that's our diameter. But why am I saying that? You're like, well, I just need the radius because it's pi r squared, so I just need r squared pi. No, they're asking about the whole square. They're using this circle as a reference so you know the dimensions. So the reality is it's a square. So that is 12 times 12. Okay? Well, this is a simple problem made to look extremely difficult. 12 times 12 is 144. Okay? And I bet if we put the rest of these in the calculators, oh, look here. This is 6 times 6 is 36. So they're seeing if you'll do that to make that mistake. The 84, not sure where that would come into play, or the 72. You'd have to make some pretty good mistakes for that one. Okay. Uh, I can understand making the mistake on A, but B and D, I wouldn't understand that misunderstanding. Anyway, this is the last question in this particular video, and I hope that I've been helpful. Now, I want to thank those of you who have left such kind comments, and congratulations to those people who have messaged me to tell me that they passed their certification. Good job, guys, and I'm glad that my little tips and tricks with the calculator helped. I hope you find a job. That's your next step, and good luck with that. Thank you for watching and sharing and subscribing. Happy testing, everyone.